Good day. My name is T.R. Carr. I'm the host to this podcast, I Can See Clearly Now. Our goal in these series of podcasts is to help residents, voters, citizens understand the complex issues that face us as members of local government here and in around the region. On today's podcast, we'll be discussing the candidacy of Dr. Randy Bruce. He is a candidate for mayor of the city of Farmington Hills. We'll also be interviewing other candidates for mayor and city council in upcoming episodes. We ask you to subscribe so that you can keep informed about the next podcast. Thank you very much, and we'll begin our interview with Dr. Randy Bruce, candidate for mayor of Farmington Hills. So should I refer to you as Dr. Bruce, as Randy, as Councilman? I always want this to be a very casual discussion. So what is your preference to how that we address you during this particular podcast?
Well, first off, I like to be informal. So Randy is great. And thank you for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate being here and the opportunity to talk about local government.
Thank you, Randy. I know you have a lot of experience in local government, and we just want to be able to make this a chance for you to explain some issues and some questions that I have. One thing that I might have is that I know that the mayor is a very, very part-time position. You serve along with 6 other council members. A question that I have is, why are you seeking the office of mayor?
Well, because I think we need strong leadership on council. Even though we have a weak mayor form of government and a strong city manager, the mayor is just one other member of council that's been really designated to do some extra things like run the meetings, set the agenda. But one of the key things the mayor is able to do if we have a strong, effective leader as mayor is to bring council together and work towards some goals or things that that we need to do as a city. If we don't have that strong leadership, council tends to be fragmented and we don't tend to get towards our goals as fast as we should. And so I think that's very important to be able to work with your fellow council members, to support them, have their support, and then again, work together in a collegial way towards the goals that we need to get done as a city. If not, then things just really kind of fall apart and stall. And that's where I think that why I want to run now, because I think we need that leadership on council. And during the last 20 years, I've really been able to exercise that type of leadership where I can get other people to go along with my ideas and my goals. And that's why over the last 20 years, I've been able to get so much done on council and why we've really, I think, grown and done some really great things over those last 2 decades.
So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is that the mayor does not have very much formal power. The influence that a mayor has is really building coalitions and alliances and building relationships with members of the city council. Is that correct?
That is very true. And the mayor, the thing to remember, I think that's very important is besides being a weak mayor form of government, that the mayor is just one vote on council, one of 7. And so that the council can override the mayor, but the mayor can't override the council. And you need minimum 4 votes to get anything done on council. But you're right in terms of how you summarize that. It is really the job of the mayor to pull the council together and to move us forward. If we don't have that, if we have a mayor that doesn't communicate with council, that doesn't cooperate with council, again, we just kind of stall out. And that's really a shame because we have a lot of challenges coming up that we have to address. And if we don't have that strong leadership, I'm afraid that things are just going to not get done. And in fact, I think the city can be harmed by not addressing the concerns that we have.
Just as a point for the individuals that are watching this podcast, you referred to a strong mayor and a weak mayor form of government. Just so that people understand, a weak mayor is one which does not have veto power. A weak mayor does not have appointive power. A weak mayor is designed to be the presiding officer to work with other members of the council. So when you refer to a weak mayor form, that's what we have. And that was according to the city charter. Is that correct?
That is exactly right. So we, the council, including the mayor, we only hire and fire 3 people in the city: the city manager, the city attorney, and the city clerk. The city manager is who runs the day-to-day operations. And by charter, we can't get involved in those day-to-day operations. Once we set policy or we give direction to the city manager's job is to carry out that policy or those directives and then utilize his employees however he sees fit. So And by charter, again, it is a weak mayor form of government. We can't change it unless there's a vote of the people to change it back to some other form of government. And so it's I think, one of the best forms of government that we have, especially for smaller cities. In larger cities, you begin to see them have strong mayors like Detroit. And that's a full-time position where the mayor really runs everything. And but in smaller cities like ours, I think it's the best form of government to have.
You mentioned city council, city manager relationships, mayor relationships with the city manager. The public may not be especially aware of the role of the city manager and the relationship that the mayor has with the city manager. Would you take just a couple of seconds and describe how the relationship between the mayor in Farmington Hills and the city manager in Farmington Hills?
Well, again, the mayor is just one person of council, so I think I always look at it in terms of the entire council, that we have to hopefully have a good relationship with the city manager. I mean, it's somebody that we hire, and we want to be able to give him all the tools necessary, him or her, to run the city, and we review that performance on an annual basis. So that if things aren't happening the way that we would like to have them happen, or if there's issues, then we bring those up during that annual review. Clearly, the mayor probably interacts a little bit more with the city manager in terms of helping to set the schedule, the agenda, and attend certain events as the figurehead of the city. But other than that, that's I think, again, it's a whole relationship with the entire council that's very important.
I've been looking over your literature that you've distributed, and I have a couple of questions. I know you list a number of accomplishments that you've, because you've been on council a number of years, you've been heavily involved. What are the 3 or 4 accomplishments that we can attribute to you as a member of the Farmington Hills City Council that you're most proud of?
One of the things I'm most proud of is it was my idea to study and build the water tower that we have in the city, because I was concerned about how fast water rates were going up, and we were told there was really nothing we could do about it. We just had to accept it and approve them from the Detroit Water and Sewage Department and then Great Lakes Water Authority. And several years ago, I approached the city manager and I said, why don't we study the idea of a water tower? And I'd looked into those and I thought it could save us some money. And that's exactly what we did. We had Oakland County come in, they studied the issue, they came back a few months later and said, if you build this water tower that we are presenting to you right now, we estimate that you'll save over $3 million a year in costs to the ratepayers of the city of Farmington Hills. And it was really almost a no-brainer to do it. And we built it, and sure enough, we've been saving about $3.5 million a year in water rate increases. And not only that, it provides 24 to 48 hours of emergency water supply in case something happens. And it also helps stabilize water pressures throughout the city and make them even more effective. So it had a lot of benefits. And just the small cellular antennas that we have on the water tower, we actually make about $200,000 a year from rental of those cell towers. So it's not only saving us money, it's making us money. Another thing I was very proud to do was help establish our dog park, because that was something I really wanted to get done, and a lot of people wanted to have me work on when I was first elected, because I'm a dog lover. We have a lot of dog lovers in the city, and it's been very, very popular. Another thing that I was able to get through was one of the most comprehensive dangerous animals ordinances in the country to help protect our citizens and our pets from people that have animals that are classified either as potentially dangerous or dangerous. I helped establish the Grand River Corridor Improvement Authority that has now got about $1 million in the bank that we can start using to help improve Grand River between Orchard Lake and Inkster.
Tell me a little bit about the Grand River Improvement Authority. That's an important issue probably for economic development in the city.
Yeah. We created that probably about 15 years ago, I think now. And what the goal was back then, when you develop an authority, you allow capture of tax increases. You have to get approval from different taxing organizations or agencies. And the tax increase, a small portion of that comes to the authority. And it took several years because when we established it, it was really during the Great Recession. So we knew it would be a few years before we'd start capturing some of those taxes. And then a number of years later we did. And so now it has added up to almost $1 million. And the goal of that is to help with renovation of that roadway, facade improvement, loans to businesses so that they can help improve the look of their buildings or other business operations. And when you do that, you help improve that whole corridor. It attracts more businesses. It's more pleasing to people that want to maybe move into that area, that surround that area. So it has a lot of other benefits as well. So we're hoping that we can really start making that area look a lot better, because it's an old area, it's kind of tired looking. And so we have to start really looking at new ways that we can help really improve these different corridors that we have, some of which are definitely in need of some renovation.
One question I have, this is something the public should be aware of. I don't think they are. I'm going to deal with the issue of campaign finance. So I'll ask you in round numbers. We're not dealing with down to the dollar or a penny, but about what will be your size of your campaign budget for this particular election cycle? This is all public. We might tell people all of this is in the public record, but you have to go to the county to find it. So we'll just ask each candidate about that. So Randy?
Well, I'll raise about a total of $40,000, which is really unusual, because before we never used to have to raise that much to run for mayor. It was maybe $5,000 to $10,000, but apparently that era is over. One of the things I only take money from is from private citizens. I don't take money from developers, from PACs, from unions. I'm not going to be owned by anybody other than our citizens, who I want to have a voice in our local government. I don't want to be controlled by these outside interests. And I think it's very important for people to take a look at the campaign finance reports of the different candidates. And they are available, as you said, on the county website. You can Google it and it'll take you right to the campaign finance reports. So that'll be very important for people to look at, is who is donating to the candidates that are running either for city council or for mayor. And you have to be careful when you see maybe a candidate that has a lot of outside interest groups contributing to their campaign, because why do we want people, organizations or PACs that are located in California or New York or Florida, controlling who our mayor and city council are? I think there's a certain danger in that. And my pledge has always been, I will only take donations from our citizens. And if you look at my reports, I think about 99% are citizens. The other little bit are my relatives that may not live in the area. And that's it. It's all private citizens. And that's the only way I have raised money for my campaign.
That's an important issue, because my experience in local government is that individuals who contribute have access. It's not control, but what we want to do is be sure that this is my bias, my perspective, is we want a local official to be bound to residents within the local community.
That's exactly it. So if you see a candidate that has a $5,000 check from a particular PAC or professional organization or union, they're going to want something back for that money. They're going to want access. They're going to want maybe some favors, whatever, possibly down the road. And it does influence, I think, sometimes how people vote on different issues. So that's why I don't want that influence on me. I only want the small donations from our citizens, and that's it. So I don't take that other type of money.
So if I hear you correctly, you're saying that most of your contributions are from individuals.
Absolutely.
And you don't have large corporate or union or PAC donors supporting your campaign.
Zero.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Zero.
Okay, that's good to know. One question that I would ask you, a lot of people don't know about this, and they don't think about it, just you're raising $40,000. Where are you going to spend it? What's the purpose for raising that kind of money?
Well, for example, we just mailed for the absentee ballot. They went out last week. It was 21,000 absentee ballots that went out. To mail to everybody who gets an absentee ballot my flyer so that they can see what I'm about, just that mailing cost over $10,000 just for that one mailing. If you do any kind of print advertising, it's very expensive. If you have any type of text messaging or other types of ways to do outreach with the voters, it's incredibly expensive. Signs, yard signs. My yard signs cost over $10 a piece. And so we've already ordered 250 of them. So that's a lot of money right there. So really just about everything you do is a very expensive, a high cost. And so that's why we have to raise the type of money that we do now. And, there's certainly, I think, a lot of concerns about too much money in politics as it is, but especially local politics.
It is. And my own experience from when I lived in Missouri is that people are amazed at what it does cost to get the word out. So, but we want to be sure that how you're spending it, and that your accountability is to the residents of Farmington Hills. So I think that's probably a good value to have, and we would applaud you for that.
You have to. I think it's also important for people to know those campaign dollars. You can only spend on your campaign or on somebody else's campaign. You can't keep that money for yourself. So that's got to be spent on campaign-related activities, and that's pretty much it.
So it's an important thing, I think, for our viewers to understand, is that the money that you raise does not line your pockets. It is something that must be spent, and the reports are given. Tell me how often the reports are submitted to the officials, I guess, at Oakland County.
Yeah. It depends on whether or not you're running for office this year or a different year. If you're in office, there's different reporting requirements. But for example, my first report, I think it was due back in, March or April of this past year. And the next one is coming up in about 2 weeks. So there was a big gap. And so the other one, I think, is due October 25th. So after that, pretty much the next day, anybody can go online and look at those campaign finance reports. And I think that's a good thing to do. I think people should be aware of who's funding your candidates, who's funding the people that are going to end up being your mayor and your council people, because that's who has the control of those individuals, as far as I'm concerned.
Another question that I know has some interest in the public, it deals with senior services. My understanding is that the City Council, a couple of years ago, signed a contract with a consulting firm from Atlanta, Georgia, to look at the budget, the programs that are offered by special services. Now, special services in Farmington Hills covers park and recreation as well as senior services. And my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that one of the tasks for this particular consultant group was to look at where we might look at locating senior services in the future. We know the Caustic Center is old. It has the pool leaks a lot. There's some other issues. Could you tell me where you see we are in that process of determining where to locate senior services?
We're not where I want us to be. I think it's taken too long. I would rather see more expediency in terms of us determining where a new caustic center will be located. So I believe we just had a major a review of their report a couple of weeks ago. I'm hoping by sometime near the end of the year, beginning of next year, we'll have more firm information from them about looking at different areas and the costs of building and maintaining a facility. Obviously, a lot of people want it in the area where the current caustic center is, and there's land in front of the old caustic center that I think would be an excellent choice. Then we have two other options at OCC and at the Hawk. And every place has its advantages and disadvantages. And one of the things we have to look at is not only the cost of building a new facility, which will be between $25 and $30 million, but maintaining that facility into the future. And if you don't account for those maintenance costs, what it costs to run in terms of programming and staffing, you're only looking at half of that puzzle. So we have to make sure when we get pro formas on each site, it looks at not only building but maintaining that building with the maintenance and programming over the next 10 to 20 years. And that will determine probably where that's going to be. I believe that will probably end up being at the Caustic Center. But again, I can't predict the future. And plus, I'm one vote on council as mayor or council member. You have to get at least 3 other votes to determine where that's going to end up. And so there's a lot more information we have to gather before we decide. But clearly, the caustic center has to be replaced. I will do everything to make sure that caustic center remains open and available for our seniors until a new facility is built. And when we have a new facility, the things that I'd like to see in there would be obviously a brand new 6-lane pool, indoor, outdoor track of some sort, if possible, sundry store, spa, even maybe a small fire mini station there, because if it is located in front of the old caustic center, we have the Rose facility in the back, and there may be new senior housing built where the current caustic center is. So I think there's a lot of great things we could do. It would be more efficient, and I think it'll be a beautiful facility that will be there for at least another 50 years. So We have to get this right, and that means really looking at all the data, and I'm a data-driven person. I'm a scientist by training. So we have to have all the good data and then also combining that with what our citizens want. And it's clear where our seniors have been very clear about where they want to see the new center located. And this is something that I've always said will also help our seniors age in place. It could provide a lot of services, some great facilities for them to do a number of different things that they want to be able to do. So that's going to help them age in place in our city, and that's exactly what we want to see happen.
I know that's a good point, because in my subdivision, it's kind of turning over. A lot of new families have moved in with young elementary age, middle school age children. So one of the issues is for the seniors that are here that do not want to leave Farmington Hills, so we need the resources for them. One thing that I found kind of interesting, I spent time reviewing a couple of the consultants' reports, and there was no cost data, hard data on what it would cost to move it to the Hawk. I know as I've met with seniors in preparation for these series of interviews, the seniors have felt, whether they're correct or not, that the administration seems to want to move everything to the Hawk. But the seniors have expressed to me that the Hawk is 55 years old, needs a lot of, now I do know the consulting report said there is a significant amount of expenditures have to be put on the Hawk right now just to preserve it, and then to add the cost of building a pool, a gymnasium, and other meeting rooms. I haven't seen data on that cost. Will that be forthcoming in the not too distant future? What is your take on that?
I'm hoping that it will. Here's some things I think is important to understand. First off, you're right about the Hawk being an older building. The first two floors look amazing when they were completely renovated after the city took over the building. The third floor still looks like an old high school because it's all lockers and it's a very, very big area. You can't put a pool up there. Just is architecturally not sound enough to put a very large, heavy pool on the third floor. So you'd have to build a separate facility. And the other thing I would not be in favor of would be mixing seniors with the other people on the first and second floors. The seniors don't want that. The younger people, I don't think, would be happy with that. So, if for some reason it's built near the Hawk, it would have to be a separate facility, maybe connecting to the third floor to do certain things on the third floor, like maybe having an indoor track there, maybe some other meeting rooms or whatever. My fear is the cost of how you would have to redo that whole landscaping, the way the land is there, would maybe end up being cost prohibitive. But again, we have to look at all the data. We have to look at not only building that facility, as I said earlier, but how much we're going to spend on programs and services. And when the one thing that's could be a benefit there would be the efficiency of having all the staff there on one campus. And in terms of city administration, I think they may have what they feel is their desire, and we listen to that. I mean, they're experts in a lot of different ways, but it's city council that makes the final decision. And so we're sensitive to both the costs and everything like that, as well as what the citizens want. And I really want to make sure that we are listening to our seniors, we're addressing their concerns, and that we are building a world-class facility that they would be proud of, that everybody in the city will be proud of, and that will be there again for a very long time and meet the needs of our community.
I think it's important. I kind of appreciate your comments, but it is important to be able to maintain a city where seniors can age in place. Otherwise, if they have to move, the question is where, and given housing costs, et cetera, it creates some real issues for us. And a city that has staying power will be able to accommodate new families as well as retain seniors itself. One thing that I would think about is, as I looked at we talked about your accomplishments, what are your priorities moving forward? We talked about things that you were proud of, but you have 2 or 3 priorities or strategies looking forward. Now, you've said that you're one among 7, and you have priorities. Now, pick 2 maybe, or 3, and then how will you move the city council to achieve those priorities?
Well, we've talked extensively about one of them, which is getting a new senior activity center built. I think that's incredibly important. And, again, it's bringing council together, working with them, listening to them, trying to flesh out ideas clearly so that we can come together as a group and say to city administration, this is where we want to go with this. This is what we've talked about. It's what we really feel is necessary. And again, good leadership can really help push that through, and I think in a more timely manner. The other big thing that we have to face is the fact that we're about 99.9% built out in the city. There's really very little land left to build on. And so everything else going forward is going to be an issue of redevelopment. And it's how we do that redevelopment that's going to be critical for the sustainability of our city. We just recently went through a revision of our master plan, and now we can start to have ordinances that are more modern, that reflect where we want to go as a city. So I'd like to see maybe more almost entertainment type districts. We want to be able to attract more restaurants, bars, clubs, things that people want. One of the things I pushed for quite some time was to eliminate, for example, the kitchen requirement if somebody wanted a liquor license. So if somebody just wanted to open up a cigar bar or a jazz club and serve alcohol, they had to build out a whole kitchen for that. Well, that's not what they want. That's not part of what that business is or needs. And so it prevented those types of places coming in here when they would go to other cities. So we got rid of that requirement, and now we are looking at opening our first cigar bar here, I believe, next year. It's in development. It's going to be a very high-end place, and I'm hoping that we can get that jazz club or something similar in the city now that we've kind of gotten rid of that requirement. So it's looking at all of our ordinances and saying, what can we improve? We've got a lot of buildings here, office buildings that are empty or near empty, and there's been some interest in converting those to condos or apartments. Maybe, again, looking at how we have zoning where we have business on the first floor and residential above that in a mixed use or overlay zoning type of environment. And so we have to start making changes that way. We have to improve the walkability in different areas of the city. We are rated very low in walkability, but that's because of how we were developed. We are a high-tech bedroom community that was developed starting in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and it was a typical suburban model of suburban development. But that doesn't serve seniors and young people now because they like to live in places where it's easy to walk to a store, to a restaurant, to a movie theater, and not always have to jump in their car and drive 2 or 3 miles to get something. So we have to see what we can do to improve some of those areas so that we can, again, attract young families here and keep our seniors here as well. We're competing with cities that are growing around us that are new cities. I mean, South Lyon, Commerce, Novi, all of these places are growing like crazy, and we have to compete with them. And if we don't, then we're going to be on the short end of the stick. We've been able to regrow our population from about 79,000 to about 84,000 now. And so we are seeing more young families move here, and that's great for our school systems. That's great for all of our other businesses here. So we have to make sure we are an attractive city to all of those groups so that we can sustain ourselves well into the future.
You raise one issue that's really fairly important for us as a city, and that deals with the area of economic development. I know as we look at the city itself, the economic base has changed somewhat, but we have a lot of small businesses. But at the same time, we have large corporations. We did have Mercedes-Benz, and they've announced they're going to withdraw, maybe consolidate their operations in Atlanta, Georgia. At the same time, we have Nissan, we have Bosch, we have Humanetics building all of the crash dummies. Those crash dummies are about $1 million a copy. So as you're looking forward to the future, what do you think you can do to help Farmington Hills retain and expand its economic base, both with small businesses as well as with the larger corporations?
We have to, I think, expand our outreach to our businesses. We have an economic development coordinator. Do we need to add to that? Do we look at how we do better outreach even on a daily basis? I would love to go knock doors of businesses as mayor and try to keep my finger to the pulse of the business community here and see what they need, what's blocking them from expansion, is there any desire that they might want to leave the city, and how do we retain them? How do we keep them here? we were blindsided by the Mercedes company, Mercedes Financial Services leaving here. They just built that building. It's beautiful on the inside if you've ever had a chance to go in there. And I think it's only about 5 years old. That it's not an old building at all. And they built here because they wanted to be close to the auto industry that they serve. So it makes me wonder, was there a chance to keep them if we had known in advance and had been able to do some sort of meeting with them or something else to see what their concerns were? The fact that we were blindsided and I found out in the newspapers, that is not how we should be finding out that one of our biggest employers in the city is leaving. And so, in past administrations, I'm not sure that would have happened. We had good outreach by different mayors and our economic development people. And so, again, I'm very disappointed that they are leaving. I think it takes a lot of effort on the part of the city and the mayor to do that outreach and go door to door and meet with different businesses, every week if you can, and just be able to see what their needs are and find out if there's any issues that maybe we can, make some changes so that we keep them here.
Because I think you're correct. Economic development really is the bedrock upon which we can build our community. I know as I look around me, the city of Farmington, with their downtown development authority, they've been doing, it's a lot of work, but they have been building that little city, doing all kinds of things. It's really, really a desirable place in which to live. And my view is that the city of Farmington Hills needs to become more aggressive in terms of it. So if I hear you correctly, that's what you're saying. So.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think you can do enough outreach when it comes to this type of thing. So I think we have to be much more active, and we need to look at what else can we add to this so that we are making sure that we are in contact with our business community and that they know who to talk to if there's any concerns. And I don't want us to be blindsided again when a large company wants to pick up and move. I want to know about it before that happens and see what we can do to make sure that they want to stay here in Farmington Hills, because we have so much to offer here. We are so centrally located. You can get on a freeway here and be anywhere in almost no time. And so we have a great location. We have a great housing stock for the employees that are here. So we have a lot to offer. And so I don't think there's any reason that we should be losing businesses to any place else.
Well, Randy, I do appreciate your taking the time to appear to talk a little about your vision for the city of Farmington Hills. In closing, what I might say is, what is one particular strength that you have, that you bring to offer the voters in Farmington Hills? And then following that, any last comments you'd like to make to residents as they're concerned about casting their ballots? So what is your strength, and then why should they vote for you?
I think my strength is what I've said many times in the campaign. It's effective, forward-thinking leadership. It's getting the job done. And if you look at all the things I've accomplished in 20 years, it is a long list of getting things done. It doesn't matter what you say, it only matters what you do. And you can run around and make a lot of promises and have the word mayor put on shirts and everything. That's just window dressing. It doesn't do anything if you don't get the job done. And I've been able to do that with 20 years on council, 8.5 years on the zoning board, almost 30 years of experience here in the city. I've lived here for 40 years. I'm very invested here. I really care about what happens to this city going forward. And so I think we need a mayor that can actually work with people, bring people together, create win-win opportunities, and get things done. And that is what I plan to do.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate your being a guest, and we do hope to be able to do this more. I want to have future podcasts looking at other issues that face the city of Farmington Hills, deal with economic development in our region, so that we can keep a pulse on what we face. And so our goal is to help people see clearly, understand the candidates, understand the issues. And so thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we wish you the best in the coming election.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.